Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about the chapter 1 of macroeconomics BBS second year introduction of macroeconomics. In our last video, we came across through the chapter 7 of macroeconomics BBS second year monetary policy, which consists of 10 marks. And now we're gonna come to this chapter which contain 12 marks for exam point of view by looking at our previous year question. So in this video we are gonna talk about the macroeconomics. What is macroeconomics? Its introduction, its scope, its objectives, or we could say just its uses, importance for macroeconomics, and its limitation. These four. I bet this video is gonna be long because I'm gonna explain a lot of things, and there are some sort of points which I do not understand. However, I'm gonna fix that, somehow later in the video. Alright, so here we go about the introduction of macroeconomics. First of all, let's say what is macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is simply a branch of economics that deals with the entire economy as a whole, or we could just say that it studies the microeconomy as an aggregate. Aggregate in English it means that a whole means WHOLE means it study the entire economy in aggregate as whole. Okay, it doesn't study as the microeconomics only study the individual unit. It study entire economic structure, whether it's macroeconomics or whatever. It doesn't left anyone behind. It study everything, and it deals with the total employment, total consumption, total investment, total saving, inflation, deflation, general price level, and national income, national output. So these are the things it deals with. And then it has got some scope, likewise theory of general price table, theory of employment, theory of money, theory of national income, theory of international trade, and as I said, theory of economic growth. So these are the things it uh, comes upon the scope of macroeconomics. What are they looking for? And for exam point of view, if I want to explain this, then I will be looking after these difficulties and challenges uh, after when I come to the explaining point of view. If it asks in the exam, but just in scenario it could come in 2 marks probably for sure. And now this comes down to the uses and the importance, which is really important for 2 marks. So for uses and importance, here we got few point of view. Likewise, number one would be the helpful to understand the entire economy, working of the entire economy. How does the economy works? It helps us to understand that, number one. Number two point is help in international comparison. Helpful in international comparison. It compares our thing with the international other countries. It helps to compare, okay, how much we are lacking behind, how much we are forward across the other country, okay, in which rank we do belong currently. Likewise, we can take an example of our economic growth. Suppose we are at 100 of all above the country. So yeah, they rank us, and it helps, it really helps to boost our entire economy. And the number 3 point would be helpful to understand international trade, how it works. Likewise, BOP, balance of payment stability, how it works, how the foreign exchange and trade balance works. It helps us to understand that. And the number 4 point is helpful in formulating economic policy. Like as I said, economic policy means, suppose that if there is inflation we decide, and it helps also understand how does it works, and it formulates the economic policy for the country so that economic growth can enhance, it can enhance. And number 5 would be helpful in controlling the economic fluctuation. If there is any fluctuation we see under our country as an in the economic loop, it's a loophole. It is not really good for the entire economy, that country necessary to be talked about. So it helps us to understand that. And there would be like to develop and expand the microeconomics. Like as always I have said that it's really important, and it's one of the main uses of macroeconomics, that it develop, it helps microeconomics to develop and expand. And how it works, as we know, it comes under the individual unit. It studied that, but we can enhance its productivity and how does it work in that economy. Likewise, if they do gather all the information of the individual unit, as then my macroeconomics, we do that, though we cover the entire economy, so it will be really useful and helpful to us, and it's one of the importance. That's why the last one is to evaluate the performance of the economy. At last of the day, you gotta talk about okay, this year how much economic growth had happened, by how much percent, or 0.1% or 5%, 10%, 1.3, 5.6, how much percent it has enhanced, or it has just decrease the our economic growth. Even if it, I think, what are the effect that we saw on our market, on our country, due to that. So yeah, actually evaluation means if we had done something to change that economic growth of our country, then how did it affect us, like in pros, in cons, in advantage, in disadvantage, its effects, its disaffects, its opportunities, it's like what are the challenges that we had faced and we're gonna face in future. Just looking after that is evaluate everything. And then yeah, now let's come down to the limitation of macroeconomics. As we know, there are like few limitations. Likewise, dependency on individual unit ignores the contribution of individual unit, and no feeling of change, heterogeneous unit. And there is one more point that I want to talk about, which is difficult effect of aggregates, like unequal effect of aggregate. So to begin with, like in this topic, we could talk about a few things, like dependency on individual unit. It means that we all know that the several conclusion of macroeconomics, it is several conclusion of macroeconomics, it is fully based upon the sum of individual unit. We know that it though in study the individual unit as a whole, so it is study the entire economy. It is not as a microeconomics, it studies the individual household or a person or a individual people, like, or a farm. It study the entire economy. It doesn't leave a single scratch in a country. It study everything. And we know that even if it study everything, in fact it is not correct, the data, it is not correct at all, because there will be always a small loophole or mistake, or something that public will not share, something that they could not get through, something would be in their way always. It's really hard to study, and it is almost around like 48% not possible to study half of the economy, as the Nepal report says. And in fact it is not correct, because like what it could be true for as an individual, it could not be true for an entire economy. For example, we could say that, suppose that I as an individual, I had saved some amount of money in my bank as a reserve for my future investment. So it will be really good for me, because I'm going to invest in future, for myself. I'm going to look for my family, I'm going to look for my surrounding, I'm going to look for my neighbors or my relatives, who I love, who I care about. So I have put that money in terms of that. I have put that money in terms of like what I'm going to do in the future for my investment, and it's really good for me. And if everybody start to do this the same thing, then what will happen? You know, there will be the fall in, obviously, like there will be the fall in reduction of the national income, because if everyone start to save their money, the aggregate demand will fall. So obviously if aggregate demand is fall due to that cause, so there will be reduction in national income. That's the main point. And this is where I do not understand few topic, as I already in the video said that I'm going to explain now about the few little things which I do not understand later in the video. So this is the part which I do not get that, and I want to really go to my campus and ask my tutor about this particular point. What does it mean? Alright, so now let's come back to the second point, which is ignoring the contribution of individual unit. It means that here it is one of the main drawbacks and difficulty of macroeconomics, that it does not study the quality, like it doesn't study, like it do study and gather all the collective data of different industry of different form. However however it's not true. Like they compare it with the last year. For example, suppose the apple, it had the production of 250 this year. Currently the mango, uh, 2 200 suppose, and the orange suppose 300. Suppose that we gather all this, it comes up to the main total, which is 750. So now what here the macroeconomics do, it is better than the last year or the worse than last year. It just look after that, it's how it is done. But suppose, like apple had the production this year really high than the last year. So yeah, it's better than the last year for them. And according to what the sources says, if the total is 750 and if it's better than last year, okay, that's the good prediction, that's the good area of data that you had collected. But suppose that it says, so okay, so we had the better production than the last year, but what in terms of mango, it could be different, right? Apple, okay, last year it was different, but this time it was really high. There were more production. But for mango, suppose that this year there will be less production than the last year, but in the result we can see that it says that better production than the last year. So it will be different for each and everything. And the last one is orange. Suppose its production increased, but better than the last year, right? And in the question, in the suppose pattern that they have said, okay, it has increased already, it matches the data, but there were few data, which do not come all across equal to the data which the macroeconomics, which you know it doesn't contribution, like it ignores the contribution of individual. Likewise for my industry, it sees them as individual unit, so they collect all their data in simple words, and they do not want them to have that, you know you know what I'm getting at. Okay, so that's it. I won't talk about this topic at all, because like it's a bothering though, but yeah, it's still simple topic. In exam I will just write few terms and just explain it down with the figure. And here comes down to the fourth topic, which is different effects on aggregate. Like it is another drawback while studying the macroeconomics. Like it doesn't study the effect on aggregate. As we know that it studies the economy as a whole, which means aggregate. But it doesn't mean that it study the everything, the effects. We know it study the aggregate, it study the entire economy, but its limitation is that it cannot go through the every each and individual unit. What are the causes, what are the problem issue, what are the effects they are facing, the challenges they are facing, the disadvantage, or in terms we could say that they had been facing all this time. We could not talk about that at all, because it's not possible that as a government, as a you could fix that problem at all, because it's all over your nation, and it's really difficult to found that. So like and there will be like different sector in the economy it study, but their effects on individual unit they could not study at all. Likewise, we will see an aggregate. For example, apple costing 50 kg. Suppose these times it cost 60 kg. So here the inflation rates high, price of goods increases. It will be good for the price setter, the seller. They will have money because the demand is high in the market. So people in that season they will obviously buy that thing if the price even is higher, right? So here the profit is for only price setter or the seller. But when it comes down to the citizen, the consumer who are gonna purchase that, they have to, because it's season, they need to feed their family because it's the season. And this is how the scenario creates where they loss it comes loss for the consumer, and this is what the effect it doesn't study at all on aggregate. So there what we saw as an small example that it study the entire economy, right? It study the aggregate, but it doesn't study this effect, like increasing inflation rate, like causing this loss for the consumer. It doesn't study that. And the last topic would be about the heterogeneous unit, which is not used by, which is absolutely, like, under this macroeconomics are studied, that's for sure, but it's studies in a different way, because we cannot study this or in numbers or unit. Because as an example, we will take that, suppose 6 apple plus 7 apples is 13 apples. It's a meaningful aggregate. But 6 apple plus 7 orange, it could be like 13 fruits. It's aggregate, it's meaningful aggregate. But 6 apple plus 5 house live in what? It's a non-meaningful aggregate. We cannot merge that. We can add that adder. Like, how could a apple and house will merge? How could we even count that? So when they say like they study the entire economy, it's not possible. Like, there will be some heterogeneous unit, and it will be really hard for them to count the entire economy. So here, guys, this is where the few uh we could talk about, few limitations, few drawbacks, few difficulty, few challenges that the macroeconomics goes through while studying the macroeconomics, when analyzing the entire economy in aggregate. And yeah, this is it for the video, and this video is come all across the 16 minutes, and I hope you have loved this video. So till then, take care, guys. Bye bye, guys. See you in the next part.